Hello and welcome. Thank you for taking time to join me today. I am Morjax, and today I'm coming at you with a super duper dodgy critical hit vampire thrall melee build for you. So I'm going to offer you two different choices. One is a one-handed version of this, and the other is a two-handed. And my preference is the one-handed for extra crit chance. And so the one-handed, the benefit is extra crit chance. The two-handed is extra damage with a little bit lower crit chance. So to help you select, I'm going to tell you the differences between the two, and then we'll go through how you actually build them. So for the one-handed, which is my preference, you're going to do at rank 10, 37 to 48 damage with 3 different attacks, and you're going to have a 41, 51, and 61% chance to crit. And that goes up if you're engaged with multiple enemies. We'll go through Underdog, the skill. And because you're going to have a sword in your main hand and an open offhand, you're going to have 125% dodge, which you might say, why would you ever need more than 100% dodge? And the reason is that sometimes the enemy will have some dodge penetration, I guess. So it's just sort of extra, an extra bonus. But the real benefit in my mind is the extra crit chance there. And the other option is the two-handed version. So instead of 37 to 48 damage, you're going to do 56 to 72. And instead of 41, 51, 61 crit, you're going to do 25, 35, 45% crit for your 3 different attacks with only 115% dodge, which is still overkill. Before we dig into it, I will not have points enough to distribute everything on screen here so you can see it. Check out down in the description, there's a link to the rank 10 build so you can kind of know what you're looking for and can refer to that. And I think I'm going to try to put a link to the one-handed build and a link to the two-handed build. So let's go ahead and dig into what actual skills we will need. So you're going to have a very low toughness with this build. So early on, you're going to want to try to get sidestep. It is expensive, but eventually we're going to want to master that, and that's going to require 15 agility. Now, a nice utility thing that you can get is Intimidate, which is, we're going to get just the basic of this. So it costs you 4 blue pills, but it essentially forces a chance for them to flee as if they were failing an all-alone test. So you might get 1 extra attack in that way. Now, for the one-handed build, what we're going to have is Vital Strike, and we're going to master this, which is going to take 9 accuracy. That gives us a plus 20% crit chance, so that's where that comes from. So let's move on to the passive skills here. We're going to be doing a lot with accuracy with this build, so very, very important is the Fatality skill, and you're going to want to master this fairly early on, and it gives you either 5 or 10% extra crit chance if you successfully hit. So that's why the crit chance goes up with each of the 3 attacks. With the one-handed build, it goes from 41 to 51 to 61%. And on the two-handed build, it goes from 25 to 35 to 45%. Fatality is what's ticking that crit chance up. So Fatality is very important. And Underdog, we're going to want to master this as well. When you're engaged with 2 or more enemies, your crit chance goes up by 15%. So when I quoted those crit chances, that did not include this bonus. So if you're engaged with multiple people, you will get an even bigger crit bonus. That being said, I will caution you, this build has very low toughness, even though it has very high dodge. And as much as you possibly can, avoid engaging in multiple enemies. You want 3 or 4 of your or 5 guys of yours against 1 of theirs. You don't want 2 of theirs on 1 of yours. So you're gonna have Underdog. It's gonna give some extra utility when it's in kind of the clown car cluster mode where like everyone's piled on top of everyone else, but do not let this this unit get surrounded. You want she's gonna stun everyone and then have your other units come in and finish off the enemy. So that is my caution with Underdog. Next, a nice to have is Avoid, and this plays very, very nicely with Sidestep, and you're gonna need this because your toughness is low. So Avoid Mastery is going to give you a dodge chance of 20% extra. And then if you have the one-hand build, you're going to have a mastery of Vital Strike, which is the active skill. If you have a two-hand build, you're going to master what is called Weak Spot. And this gives you a little bit, it's going to give you a 15% chance to bypass the enemy's dodge and parry stance. So it gives you a little bit of chance to cut through whatever stance they're taking. And gives you that much more likely to hit. Now, alternative to that, if you want to max out your damage, you can actually go with Deep Wounds Mastery, which is going to do an extra 20% crit damage. So on the one hand, you're going to have Sidestep, Intimidate, Vital Strike, Underdog, Fatality, and Avoid. If you're doing the two-hand version, you're going to have Sidestep and Intimidate for active skills. Passive is going to be Underdog, Fatality, Avoid, and either Deep Wounds or Weak Spot. So that's all that. Let's go through the different stat points that you're going to assign with this build. For physical, you're going to have 11, 5, and 15 for strength, toughness, and agility respectively. Your strength is going to be pretty high at 11. Your toughness is going to be very, very low, and this is probably what makes me most nervous about this build, is it's a little bit glass cannon-y. You need to have other people backing up this build, because if they get surrounded, if the enemy gets a lucky stun off on you, you do not have a lot of toughness to back you up. So you're depending in a very big way on your other units and also on your agility, your dodge chance to save you. And to that end, you're going to put 15 points into agility, and that's going to let you master Sidestep, and it's also going to let you master Avoid. Moving on to the mental skills here, you're going to get 12 leadership, 12 intelligence, and 6 alertness. Now, the leadership is a nice to have for Intimidate. You only need 9 for Intimidate, so you can kind of splash points around a little bit if you prefer it a different way. The intelligence is nice to max out because that's going to give you stun resistance, and if you receive a stun with this build, it can shut you down pretty dang fast because of your low toughness. So high intelligence is nice. You're going to get that extra stun resistance, which is important to keep this unit up and running. Now for the martial skills here, you're going to have 12, 3, and 12. So obviously with the accuracy, your max is only 9 right now. So you might say, Morjax, how do I get 12 accuracy? Well, that's going to be with a Grimoire. There's a Grimoire that you can get in the story missions that can increase the cap of one of your martial abilities by 3. You're going to spend that on accuracy. That way you can get your accuracy up to 12. And ballistic skill, we're not using it, not putting any points in it. All the rest of our points are going to go into weapon skill, which will get us up to 12. So it'll be 12, 3, and 12. Now at rank 10, you're going to, I think if I'm remembering right, you're going to have 295 hit points. Which is decent, but again, your toughness is very, very low for this unit. You're going to have 9 red pills, OP, offense points, and you're going to have 7 SP, blue pills, strategy points. So with the one-handed version, every single vital strike is going to cost you 3 OP, so it's going to cost 3 and 3 and 3, which makes 9. And with the two-handed, you're going to have tiring in the mix, so the first one's going to cost 2, second one's going to cost 3, third one's going to cost 4. So the reason why I prefer the one-handed, and this is up to you to decide what role you need filled in your warband, but you should, I like the extra crit chance because you're setting up your allies for the kill. When the enemy is stunned, and there's a chance to stun every time you crit, when the enemy is stunned, your units hit for free. It's a guaranteed hit, whether you're charging, whether you got 2 hands, 1 hands, no matter what weapon you've got. If you're attacking with melee, you're guaranteed to hit a stunned unit. So I like that utility a lot, and you can see if you had 2 of these builds and then like the rest of your heroes were very tanky, or hit very hard, if you wanted to go all glass cannon, you could have your other units splashed heavily into strength. You could stun with these guys and then bring the other guys in and just annihilate, just shred through the enemy if they have a lot of them are stunned. And this plays very nice with the stunning ranged build with the drag that we went over in a previous build. So stuns add a lot of utility, which is why I like the one-handed. And the other reason I like the one-handed is this build has like the minimum amount of toughness this character can have, which is 5 toughness. That's the starting toughness for the Vampire Thrall. So stuns not only give utility to set your allies up, but it gives you some protection, because the enemy, when they stand up from a stun, which is more likely the more crits that you have, when they stand up from a stun, they don't get as many attacks that round, and they don't get as many red pills, they don't get as many blue pills. So you're protecting yourself by stunning the enemy a little bit more often. And not to mention, this is sort of you know, all stats and figures aside, it feels so good to get the crit, and it feels so good to get the stun. Every time it feels amazing to get the stun. So from that perspective, I would say go with a one-handed sword. If you like to max out your damage, go with the two, you get 2 swords in each hand, and let's go through the equipment to that end. So like I've been saying this whole time, a one-handed build is going to have 1 sword and an open hand. The 2-hand build is going to have 2 swords in both hands. And I don't have it here because the market doesn't have swords available right now. Use your imagination. I'm sure you guys have it. We're going to wear clothing for this because it gives us a dodge chance. Now, if this was blue, we'd get a plus 15% dodge chance instead of 10. If this was a purple item, we'd get plus 20%. So that's what gets you up to that 115 or 125%. And then in the head slot, you're going to have a helmet, which is going to give you a little extra, just a little extra staying power. Helmets are nice, so especially for melee units. So that is the build. Let me know what you thought. If you like this build, you've got various little YouTube buttons at your disposal to express your like, and I would love to hear your comments on things you like about this build, things that you would do differently. If you have more requests for more builds, please let me know. I'm having fun making some build ideas for you. And once again, down in the description, you can find the links to the one-handed and two-handed build. Thank you very much to Flupo42 for the idea, the inspiration for this build. We will see you next time, my friends. Take care.